Happy Easter. Happy Easter, everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. Today, we have two very special shows. They are Easter cook-alongs, so if you're on my mailing list, you've already received the ingredients and shopping list. If not, you can just watch and try these recipes later. They will be in the show notes. By show notes, I mean the description box that sits under the YouTube video. If you're watching on Facebook, unfortunately, you can't see it, so hop on over to YouTube, please, so you can see everything and join the fun. We have four of the best, not that there's that many, but they are the best SOS-free chefs in the world. SOS-free vegan, of course. Chef Katie May, Kathy Fisher, Ramses Bravo, and Elspeth Feldman, and they're going to make an entire Easter meal, which would be good really anytime, but we're just doing this because it's the holiday. So first up, with a strawberry spinach salad with poppy seed dressing from the Culinary Gym, welcome, Katie May. Hi, Katie.
Hi, Chef AJ. Thank you so much for having me. Welcome, everyone. Happy Easter.
It's always fun having you. You don't age. I think I've known you close to 10 years, and you haven't changed like at all yet.
That's good to hear, but I would say otherwise.
I mean, you look like
it certainly does it.
Honestly, you look like maybe 22, like you just got out of college at the most.
In a way, I think I'm actually de-aging. I'm getting younger by the day.
Well, anyway, you look great, and your recipes are great. And the recipe you're making today, it's not a difficult one.
No, super easy. And this is perfect for the springtime, whether it's a holiday or any other day of the week. And I'm going to show you the dressing and then how we put it all together. But it's great to assemble in the moment, so you can really enjoy this day after day. You make a big batch of the dressing, and then you just have your other ingredients in the fridge and ready to go. And it will come together in under 10 minutes, if that.
That's great. Is there anything special about poppy seeds? Because I know you're also a nutritionist, but is there anything special health-wise about poppy seeds?
I don't know anything specific about nutrition, but I can tell you that I've learned over the last couple of years the importance of getting a variety of nutrients. So I really emphasize the whole foods rather than getting individual nutrients from certain foods. Of course, seeking out omega-3s from our flax and chia seeds and things like that. But in general, we want all of the nutrients, the micronutrients, the phytochemicals. And so poppy seeds are just going to be one more additional fabulous plant-based food that we can have and add in more variety.
Yeah, they're fun. They make things pretty too.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a sweet poppy seed dressing. You can make it a little tangier or sweeter depending on your preferences, but the way the recipe is written is really great. We're going to start with, so this is a cashew-based dressing, but I have beans aside for, I'm making carrot cake this morning for my family. And so you could easily do chickpeas in this recipe, or even hemp seeds as well. So I'm adding 3/4 a cup of cashews, and I have them already soaked. They were soaking for about 45 minutes, and then I just drained that soak water. And we're going to add in some aquafaba. So if you don't have the aquafaba, you can use water in place of this. But what aquafaba is the liquid from cooking beans, specifically chickpeas, is the best source of aquafaba. But rather than making your own chickpeas, which I do recommend because they taste amazing, cooking beans from scratch is the best. But the easiest way to get the aquafaba is right from a can of chickpeas. And so we'll just strain out the beans. Again, we can use these for later. They could even go in your salad if you wanted to make this a little bit heartier. Or you can put some of the beans into the dressing if you'd like. And now I would replace the beans to the nuts 1-to-1 if you wanted to do that. So the aquafaba here, I'm going to measure out how much we want. It's just about 3/4 a cup. And usually we get about 3/4 a cup from a can. So yep, that's just right. We're going to pour all of this into our blender here. And again, if you don't have the aquafaba, you can use water. It has a savory taste. Some people actually like using the aquafaba, which means water bean, right? Aquafaba. They use this as an oil replacement when they're roasting their vegetables because it helps crisp up the vegetables and really nice flavor as well. Then we have our apple cider vinegar. So like I said, if you wanted this a little bit tangier, you can do more of the vinegar. We're going to do 3/4 of it, or 3 tablespoons, which is 3/4 of a quarter cup. If you can get 3 tablespoons.
Katie Mae, if you cook the beans from scratch, though, you don't really get the aquafaba, right?
You don't get the same consistency. Generally, we use more water than you would otherwise, but you can cook the beans from scratch and then reduce the water. I don't know the exact proportion, but I know people have done it online. So you can make the aquafaba from scratch, but it just takes one more step. Well, 2 more steps, cooking the beans, which is no problem, but then also reducing that liquid. So I'll figure that out one day, but my plate is always so full that I just use the canned aquafaba. Then we have 2 tablespoons of water, and you can always add more water, but you can't take it out. So I always like to do a little bit less water than what a recipe calls for, and then add more as I need it. And a little bit of chopped onion, 2 tablespoons. And that's just diced up onion and then measured. It doesn't need to be minced because you don't want too much of that. It will add a bite. We want a little bit of a bite, but not too much. And then 4 dates, pitted. And when I use dates, I usually use medjool dates. They're just so much easier to work with. But if you're using deglet dates, then just do, I would do either 1.5 to 2 deglets for every medjool date. And again, this depends on your sweetness preferences. Then we have some dry mustard, and just a little bit. We're going to use, we have 1/2 teaspoon. And you can, I use yellow mustard seeds ground up fresh. I love grinding spices myself whenever I can, but you can just buy it as well. And a little bit of mustard here would work, but it would actually be a much stronger and different taste if you use fresh mustard. So I recommend just a little bit of the dry mustard. Poppy seeds, 1 tablespoon. Let's do 1 whole tablespoon here. Yeah. Right. I'm not going to add the poppy seeds yet. You don't want to add them before blending, because then you'll blend those poppy seeds, and we want them to have to be intact so we can see them. So let's blend up this dressing. Okay, so when I stop the blender, I can still hear a little bit of the cashews falling. So that tells me I need to go just a little bit longer. Okay. So now we have our blended sweet dressing. And if you happen to not have poppy seeds, this is delicious on its own. The poppy seeds just add a nice, really nice look to it. So we're gonna do, I'm gonna just stir it in here, right into the blender. And then we'll stir it in. Okay. So you probably can't see that, but when I pour it, you'll get a better view. And the poppy seeds actually, they get a little bit gelatinous, like chia seeds as well. Okay. Oh, it smells so good. You can actually smell the onion in this dressing. Okay, we'll put that aside for the moment. And then our salad, again, super quick. And you can always add more to this, but what I like to do is keep it really simple. It kind of puts the focus right where you want it on the fresh strawberries. So I already have a lot of these cut up, sliced strawberries. What I do is just slice off the top. You can use a spoon to scoop it out, but I just usually just slice off the end, that strawberry, and then we'll go hold it between your thumb and your first finger, and then we can just slice this in thin strips. If you were doing a whole bunch of these strawberries, I would recommend using a mandolin to slice these. Of course, their strawberries are so small, you would want to use the guard and maybe even a cut glove as well to make sure that you don't hurt yourself. But slice up all your strawberries and then your avocado or your cucumber. With the cucumber, I always recommend peeling it, whether it is a cucumber like this without the plastic on the outside, or if you have the English cucumber, which usually comes in plastic, there's, even without the plastic, there's like this film on it. And so I recommend peeling the cucumbers, but I do like leaving just a little bit to give us that darker green color, the contrast. And then we'll slice this. And you can do either, this will depend on what you want to do for your presentation. You could just do rounds, or you could cut this into half moons, or even quarters if you like your cucumbers a little bit smaller. And if you really want to get fancy, you could again take the mandolin and slice your cucumber in strips, long ribbons. And when you go to plate this, you could do a lot if you had those pretty long ribbons. And I love, if anyone's used ribbons or had ribbons cucumber at a restaurant, the consistency is just so nice. It's so different, really light and airy. Okay, so our cucumbers, we'll set those aside for a moment. And then our avocado. Avocado is my favorite fat in the plant-based world because it's so easy to use, just like butter. You put it over everything, but it also is really great in calorie density. It's lower, about 700 calories per pound, rather than the nuts and seeds, which are about 22 to 2,800 calories per pound. So way less impactful on our waist, and we still get all the joy of the creaminess. And so I'm just slicing this avocado lengthwise and then at a diagonal, give us little pieces. And we're going to scoop that out with a spoon. Now, if you were serving this to a big party and you just wanted to put it on the table, or even a couple people, you wanted to put it on the table as a kind of just a buffet style, or in the middle of your table, family dinner, and you could put everything in here and mix it together. But from a presentation standpoint, I think it's actually nicer to serve the salad on individual plates. So I'm just taking some of my big bowl of spinach here, and I'm going to cut it up. We're just going to dice the spinach a little bit smaller. And this is baby spinach, so you don't need to chop it any smaller, but it'll just be a little bit easier to eat with your fork and mix with everything else. Okay. And then we'll plate our dish. So I have a salad bowl here. Add our spinach, and I'm going to do a little bit more. You definitely want a lot of those greens. And the salad dressing is so delicious that this is a fantastic way to get more of your raw greens in. Okay, and then plus all of the yummy toppings. So then we have our cucumbers. Let's just layer these on top. We'll do, again, the presentation, especially with the holidays, really makes a difference. So add some of those guys. And then we'll add our strawberries. Let's actually do a couple layers here. Now, it's a good idea to serve these salads before anything else during the holidays, because chances are you've got a really delicious entree and other items, and because it's the holidays, it might be a little bit richer. I know Kathy Fisher's loaf is amazing, so fill up on all your greens first. We'll add our salad, or our strawberries here. Layer some of these in the middle. Put those end pieces on top so you can see that bright, pretty red color.
That looks beautiful. Katie VG, who's watching from True North, actually says, how many ounces is the Vitamix container that you used?
I think it's a 32-ounce container. It's the smaller one that fits under the cabinet, and I really love it. I don't feel any need to go for a larger size, but I'm also, the only thing I think I would do a larger size is if I was doing double batches of smoothies or something like that. But for all my dressings and sauces, it works out perfectly. And we add a little bit of avocado. Let's add the avocado on top. We'll add our dressing first. And so I didn't add that last tablespoon of water, and it's got a great consistency the way it is. But if you were saving this for later on, I would add that water because as it sits in the fridge, it's going to thicken up a little bit. Or you could just always add that water a little bit later on or when you're about to serve to use it. Okay, so I'm going to be careful not to pour too much on here. You can see the pretty color, and then you can always add more later on. Add a little bit of this avocado on top.
Did you ever watch Seinfeld, Katie Mae?
I did. It wasn't a huge, didn't watch all the shows, but I definitely seen some.
Do you remember the episode where there was a debate whether or not, like, if you ate too many poppy seeds, you'd fail your drug test?
No. But that definitely, I've heard people talk about that, and I say eat all the poppy seeds you want. So this avocado, not so pretty. If you really want that presentation, I would slice the avocado rather than dice it. I kind of just ruined my whole look. So if you like spice, if you want to add, I'm not talking heat, but if you want to just do a little sprinkle of fresh black pepper on top, that would be really nice too. Or even better than that would be fresh herbs. And I kept this salad really simple because the dressing is so fantastic. But if you wanted to go over the top, a little bit of fresh green onion or mint or even basil would be fantastic here. So this is our strawberry spinach salad with the poppy seed dressing. And I hope you guys enjoy this. If not today, then later this spring season, because it's a beautiful seasonal dish I think you'll all enjoy.
That is so beautiful. Thank you so much. Do you have Easter plans with your family tonight?
Yes, like I said, I'm making carrot cake and deviled potatoes, a new recipe of mine. So fantastic. If anyone wants to eat the recipe for either of those, feel free to email me. I'd be happy to share them. Yes, and if you guys want to go deeper with any of the plant-based cuisine, I have some really great online classes. But in general, my favorite is just making these amazing recipes and helping people find more deliciousness in their kitchen so they can live more deliciously.
Well, thank you. And you do it so well. Thank you so much, Katie Mae. Before we introduce the next chef, thank you, Angela, for the super chat donation. So you got me a donation, Katie. You did such a good job. Now you set the bar really high for Ramses now.
Take it away, Ramses. Happy Easter, everyone.
Happy Easter, Katie. And now we have, as we like to say, my brother from another mother, or he calls me his sister from another mister. He is my favorite person to do Iron Chef's Wish, and that's so part about the sheltering in place. However, Chef Bravo, I figured out the technology. We could actually do remote Iron Chefs now. So if you want to go up against, I don't know, any of the SOS-free chefs, either Katie or Kathy, if she'll do it, or Elspeth, or, you know, there's Shada and Tammy, probably a few more that I'm not thinking of. We could actually do these remotely now.
Hi, AJ. Hello, everybody. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter to you.
So I am excited to be here. It's a little different. I'm in a different home. I am, for Easter, I was able to take some time off. And so I'm actually at my daughter's house, her mom's house. So a little different, but I'm excited. I haven't actually had any physical contact with my daughter, but I'm here today and I'm very excited for that. And I'm going to make this Easter potato dish for you all.
Can't wait. It's called Boulangerie. Doesn't that mean bakery or something in French?
No, these are called Boulangère, which is a little bit different. Traditionally, these, in regular cooking, these were a dish, a pan of potatoes with some stock that would lay under the oven of a rotisserie kind of a oven. So as the drippings of whatever animal protein was being cooked, they would drip down on these, and it would be like this rotisserie oven scalloped potatoes kind of a thing. But we're going to skip all that animal protein part, and we're just going to make the plant-based version, which is actually pretty good.
That's great. You know, you probably get this question a lot at True North, but I always get it like the best way to store potatoes. People say they, they start sprouting or sometimes they're green. Do you have any potato advice?
Cool, dark place. They don't tend to do very well at room temp. Ideally, they should be right around like 50 degrees. So not quite refrigerator temperature, but colder than room temp. So if you have a room or a pantry area where they could stay a little bit cooler than the rest of the house, that's the ideal.
Yeah, that's kind of hard at the desert. I don't remember when it's ever been 50 degrees.
Yeah, into your house, it's hotter there.
Is this a recipe you actually serve at True North occasionally?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Can't wait to see it.
All right, so I'm gonna switch the camera view to the pot so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. And now I'm gonna turn this guy on. And so the first thing I'm gonna do is I am going to preheat the pot just a little bit so that my onions and shallots and garlic and the leek goes in. I'm basically going to do a slight dry saute before the spices go in and the broth. Okay. So in here, I'll show you, I have my onions and garlic here already pre-sliced. So I am going to go ahead and drop these. The idea is the important part of this dish, the most important part is that we're going to use the starch, the natural starch in the potatoes to make this into that scalloped potato kind of thing. So we're going to rely on the starch to thicken the dish up, so to speak. So, I have this prepared in different stages. I know we have like this 15-minute slots to do this.
You can have longer, don't worry.
It takes a little bit more than 15 minutes, but I have it in different stages, so I don't take up too much of your time. So I have some finished products already done in the oven, so you'll see how wonderful they look. But the idea right now is just to be able to get a little bit of caramelization on the onions and the garlic. And the reason for that is two things. You can't see it quite yet. I'll show you in just a sec. But I'm doing two things in the pot. The first one is I'm evaporating the natural water out of the onions and garlic. So I'm concentrating on their flavor by evaporation. And again, I'm also caramelizing the natural sugars to intensify the flavor. And now that I have a little bit going on there, that's kind of what I'm chasing right there. That nice golden brown. So we're well underway here. So for anybody who thinks that you can't saute without using oil because it's going to stick or it's going to burn or something, it's just not true. You can do dry sauteing. Most of what I do is dry saute, probably 85% of what I do. And we do it just like this. We just get a nice hot pan or pot. We add our stuff and we get that nice golden brown going on.
What are you doing for Easter, Chef Bravo?
So again, I don't know how well you can see it in the camera. You see some of the steam coming up. I don't know how well the phone camera is catching it.
I like your spoon that has your company name on it.
Oh yeah, I got tired of borrowing my neighbor's spoon, so I got some of my own.
I like your spoon that has your. That's very clever.
Oh yeah. So we're pretty close here. I like your spoon. I'll show you again this nice, beautiful golden brown. And I'm gonna go ahead and add my granulated garlic and onion. Stir that in, so my spices are in now. Now, I'm going to add my vegetable broth.
And you always make your own broth, right? From one of the recipes
Correct.
in your book?
Yeah, always. One of the biggest things is why I do it is because it's actually, you can make vegetable broth for free, because in order for me to make my broth, we in the kitchen at True North, we save all of the odds, ends, pieces, trimmings, peelings, stems, all the stuff that you normally would throw away. So we save all of that. We keep it refrigerated, and twice a week we make a big batches of broth. And so we actually make it out of trash. And because it's made out of scraps and trash, we say it's free.
Wow. Have you ever made broth in an Instant Pot? Have you ever used your Instant Pot since I gave you one?
Oh yeah, I've used it many times. Yeah, mostly for bean stews. So the last one I made was a large lima bean and saffron fennel kind of a stew, which came out really good actually.
You have to love someone a lot to give them an Instant Pot.
So now you see, I'll show you what the side of the pot here. So you see that it's, nothing stuck to it. It's nice. Everything came right off. Okay. And so the idea now is to, just like I did with the onions, I evaporated the moisture out of them. I'm doing the same with the broth. So the idea is to add that vegetable broth to the pot and then reduce it down to, again, concentrate the flavor, which is one of the biggest ways I get around the issue of not having salt or not being able to use salt in my cooking. So by concentrating flavors, whether it's savory or sweet, that's how I work around that issue. And so I think you can see it a little bit better now. You see the steam coming up. So the idea now is to reduce this down. And I'm going to add some of my stuff that I had previously reduced already, just to concentrate the flavor there. And as that cooks, I'm going to start with my potatoes. So I'm going to take some Yukon Gold potatoes in my fancy mandolin slicer.
Oh my God, the second chef this week that's not using a guard.
And now here's the crucial part. I rinse my potatoes and then I'm slicing them right into the pot. I am not rinsing the potatoes at all after I slice them, because if you do, you're going to wash off all the starch that's going to be essential for the dish. So you don't want to wash your potatoes after you slice them. You also don't want to slice them too far ahead in advance, because potatoes will start turning on you. They'll start to get that brown or even black look to them, and you don't want that. So you want to slice this fairly close to their cooking time. I think I got enough potatoes in here. Yeah. All right. So now it's a matter of stirring these bad boys in here, and it's almost like you're sort of scraping the starch out of each slice. As you stir and stir and stir for a few minutes, that starch will start to come out, and you'll see it in the broth. It'll start to get thicker. It'll go from a broth to a sort of a, I don't even know what to call it. Like it'll just be thick. So stir, stir, stir. So the idea is to not only get some of the potatoes, some of the starch out of the potatoes, so that you start thickening up that broth. And what will happen is that starch will sort of make everything sort of come together. So rather than just random slices of potatoes, It'll all stick to, they'll all stick together to create this sort of loaf almost. And as we cook them in the pots, we are sort of pre-cooking them a little bit so they don't take as long in the oven. Now, certainly this is, I'm showing you sort of the basic kind of dish, which is how we make it most of the time at True North if we serve it. But you can add so many things to this. So along with the onions, I could have cooked some mushrooms in there to give it some mushroom flavor. I did this one time when I had some red bell peppers roasted in the oven. So we had some roasted bell peppers, and they were not meant for this dish, but one time we served it at True North, I was like, let's just throw these in there. And they worked out really good. So certainly other things can go in there. If you like certain other vegetables, such as like carrots or maybe some fennel, they can certainly go in there. I like the large amounts of onions and garlic in there just to give it a really nice depth of flavor. I don't know how well the camera can spot it here, but if I look at my broth, it's now got this sort of glossy look to it, and that's from the starch. So I stir, 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 stir. Again, I'm trying to get the starch out of each potato slice so that this will all come together really nice. And so,
Chef Bravo,
Yep.
Bonnie wants to know, if you don't have vegetable broth, can you use water?
you could use water. The only problem with that is that potatoes really need, because they're such a starchy kind of vegetable, they require a lot of flavor. So if you don't have vegetable broth, I would suggest you up the amount of spice. So you saw me use some granulated onions and garlic. I would add something else, maybe more of the same. Or if you have something like some particular spice blend that you like, maybe like a Cajun thing or an Italian spice blend, just to get more flavor in there. Because if you just cook them with water, they're going to be kind of plain. You won't get the flavor effect from this dish. You can certainly add a lot more fresh herbs to it. One in the recipe, it calls for some rosemary. So you can up the rosemary just a little bit on that. All right. So I went ahead and turned this off now because I can see the broth is nice and thick. It's glossy. Okay. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to my dish here that I had. Now my potatoes go in here. Sort of spread them out nicely. There we go. So you see this has got a really nice sort of scalloped potato kind of thing, except we're not using any butter, we're not using any cream or anything like that. And as I mentioned, the rosemary, normally I chop it up. I take the rosemary, chop it up nicely and stir it throughout the whole thing. For Easter, I thought, well, what if we just sort of lay the rosemary sprigs in there? And so this guy is going to go in the oven now. Just got to get my oven mitts here because this one's going to go in and the other one's going to come out.
Are you cooking for your family tonight for Easter?
I'm not sure what the plan is actually quite yet. Again, I'm here at my daughter's mom's house. So we haven't gotten to that part yet. So you see here, I did these ones in the sort of individual, let me see. There we go. The sort of individual portions. So this guy here is probably about a third of what went in that dish that I just put in the oven. So this is like a individual serving kind of thing. And I like this, the rosemary sprig right there, right in the middle, just for a different look. So, and you can see how nice and brown, golden brown, this whole thing comes out. So, personally, I love this dish. I've been making it for years now. It's one of my quote unquote oldest recipes that I have. It's always a crowd pleaser. So yeah, there it is.
Wow, that looks amazing, spectacular, delicious. It looks like scalloped, cheesy scalloped potatoes.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I'm aiming for. But again, a nice, healthy, plant-based version of it.
Wow. VG, who's watching from True North, says you have some new nut-free dressings.
Yeah, we started, more than anything, we started labeling, getting better labels on our dressings so people would know which ones are nut and seed free, so they have a little bit more variety and just a heads up. So we started labeling some of our stuff in the such as the strawberry balsamic, the smoky tomato one. And then Mauricio came up with a couple other things. So we're just trying to give people more options.
Wow. So tell us about your newer cooking class, or even the older one, which is still not really old, but your previous one.
Yeah. So if you go to my website, here we go, the bravopb.com. That is my website where anyone can sign up for my online cooking courses. The Boulanger potato that I just did is part of my advanced cooking course, advanced techniques to plant-based cooking. So that's a more of a, my courses are just sort of more comprehensive. I take somebody basically who either doesn't know anything about cooking or doesn't know anything about plant-based SOS-free cooking, and just starting from the very beginning. And then progressively get more and more intense, more, higher difficulty. But really, it's all fairly simple. So, you saw how simple this potato dish is. That's the part of the advanced techniques. So,
Wow.
not rocket scientists, just good, delicious cooking.
Yep. Thank you so much. I wish we could get all the components together, like just right here at my house, so I could eat your whole meal. It looks amazing. Thank you so much, Chef Bravo. I hope you have a very happy Easter. Enjoy your day off. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for having me, AJ. I appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure. One of the best SOS-free chefs. My brother from another mother, Chef Ramses Bravo. So we've had two chefs that teach at True North, and now we have a third. And I'm sure you have seen her before if you've watched my show anytime. She does her own weekly YouTube. I believe hers is on Tuesdays at 10 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken. She has a wonderful cookbook called Straight Up Food, and her name is Kathy Fisher, and she's going to be making a lentil and rice loaf with a better ketchup. Hi, Kathy. Happy Easter.
Hi, AJ. How are you?
Good. I love your shirt. What's out of those hearts?
They're just circles, but they were the closest thing to an Easter egg that I had in my wardrobe. So, yeah.
That's very cute. How are you and all your kitties?
Me and my 3 kitties, we are great. Everybody's happy. They're all napping now, so hopefully they won't be jumping up here, but we never know. But I just heard your introduction. Thank you. And I won't be doing my Tuesday classes regularly, at least going forward, because I'm going to be teaching back at True North. And I haven't even told Ramses this yet, but I'm going to be back at True North on the 20th.
Oh, well, I think he just logged off. So you're going to actually start to do them in person is what you're saying.
Yes, and I'm so ready. If I have to do them with the masks, everybody's masks spread out, I'm ready to do that. And I have really enjoyed doing the online videos and the classes, and I'll still do those. I'm just not going to do them on a regular basis like I was. But I've built up my YouTube channel at Straight Up Food on YouTube. And so I'm going to keep contributing to that and being on your show and just doing things. So I'll be out there. I'll be online.
Well, great. Terrific. And so is this what you're, well, obviously, this is probably what you're going to be serving for Easter tonight because that's what you chose to make.
Yes, I'm going to have 2 loaves because I already made one ahead of time. So we don't have to wait for it to cook. So yeah, we're going to have this for Easter tonight. And this is a little bit more involved. It's a main dish. It's like a meatloaf without meat, but it's a little more festive because it has lots of fresh herbs in it. So it's great for Christmas and Thanksgiving and Easter or anytime really, but it's very fragrant. And yeah, so like Ramsey's, I have a couple things already ready to go, so it'll go a little faster. But yeah, this is an oldie but a goodie.
But loaves are great, just like any kind of plant burger, because they freeze really well, don't you think?
Oh yeah, they freeze great.
Yeah. Well,
Burgers, lentil loaf, baked goods freeze really well. Most things freeze really well, unless it's lettuce or potatoes freeze kind of okay, but then they're a little funky on the thaw out. Anyway, don't get me rambling. All right. So I'm going to, should I just jump in?
Yeah, jump on in.
Jump on in. Okay, I've already got my pan preheating here, so we don't have to wait on that. But the first step of this is to make the lentils and the rice and the seasonings, which I've already done here because that takes 45-50 minutes to do. So this is a 1/2 cup of short grain brown rice, a 1/2 cup of green lentils, and let me double check, 1 3/4 cups of water, and then a little bit of granulated onion and poultry seasoning. And poultry seasoning does not have poultry in it. It's just a seasoning blend that's really good. I guess they used with poultry, but you can use it on anything. So I made this last night, so it's all ready to go. It's cold. It doesn't have to be cold, but I find that if you make this the night before and it's ready, it kind of saves you time and it kind of dries this stuff out a little bit so it's not so wet when you're making it, which is slightly preferable. So we will come back to this. And I do use short grain brown rice because I found that it's a little bit, it's stickier, it sticks together a little bit better. So if you can use the short grain brown rice. All right, so that is step 1 and that is done. Step 2 is we're going to saute some vegetables. And I've already got my saute pan here. My oven is now preheated. So we're just going to put in about, this is like 5 cremini mushrooms. If you only had white mushrooms, that would be fine too. That's 1 rib of celery and then 1 medium yellow onion. And I kind of have everything prepared and chopped today in the spirit of saving time. But AJ, was it you? I think you turned me on to that Vidalia Chop Wizard.
I love it because it's, I get so nervous. I was watching Ramses use the mandolin without a glove and it's like, ugh.
Yeah, it makes me nervous. I was just going to show it to people, but it's in the sink and it has water in it. But it's just a chopping tool that makes, I mean, if you cry when you chop onions, get a Vidalia Chop Wizard. It's so fast. It's so easy. All right. So I'm just sauteing these veggies. We want to give them a little pre-saute before we mix it in and put it in the oven because it'll give better flavor and it'll soften the veggies a little bit as well. And this doesn't take very long, 3 or 4 minutes, especially if you have it on high, which I kind of do. And if it gets too dry for you, just add a little bit of water, no big deal, or vegetable stock, not oil. We don't do oil here. So I just use water because I'm cheap and I don't like the taste of store-bought vegetable stock. But if you're like Chef Ramsay's, you would make your own vegetable stock, which I'm too lazy to do. So I just use.
I agree with you that I haven't found a store-bought box brand that I think tastes good. And plus you're paying for the I mean, they're so expensive. They're like $2, $4, and it's so much easier to make your own, or like you say, use water. And Local Spicery, who does a whole line of SOS-free spices, has this amazing broth now where you just put like a tablespoon of the powder in, and I love that.
Oh, what a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I guess you could make broth out of any seasoning blend and water, but yeah, that sounds super easy. Yeah, I recently discovered the Local Spicery and I really like their spices. I used their, what did I do with it? Their poultry seasoning in today's dish. Okay, so while that's finishing up, we're going to get our pan ready. And we're just going to use the standard loaf pan for this. If you wanted to make this in a 8 by 8 inch baking pan, you could do that too. But this is more traditional. So what you want to do is get some parchment paper again, so we're not treating the pan with oil or butter or anything. So I'm just using parchment paper, and I've already cut a piece off. This is just paper that can go in the oven and nothing will stick to it. And just cut off a piece that will be big enough to cover the bottom and the sides of your pan. And then fold it into quarters. And then, did I put my pen away? Get a pen and open it up. Sorry, open it up and just mark, kind of center it, and then mark where your corners are with the pen, or you can poke a little hole in it or whatever. So mark those corners. Take this away and let me just check on this. Ooh, this smells so good. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and just turn that off. All right, so once you have those corners marked, and I could have had this done already, but I find that people really like to know how to prepare their parchment paper. So just cut into your dots that you made. This will help the parchment lay nice and smooth. And this doesn't have to be a precise operation, but I like to be precise. It's fun. Okay, so once you get that all ready, you just put it in the bottom of your pan. And the little curlies will come into play there, but we can trim those off or we'll deal with them later. All right, so we're going to set that aside. And we're going to get back our rice, lentils, and spices here. We're going to put in our, and can you see that, our sauteed veggies. And this is a ceramic non-stick pan. I love having one of these in the house for veggie burgers, hash browns, pancakes. And the thing with non-stick cookware is you just want to treat it nicely. You don't want to overheat it and ruin it. Okay. I think I'm going to move this out of the way as well. Okay. And then we're going to add the remaining ingredients. This is, let me double check, 3/4 cup old-fashioned rolled oats. Oh, I forgot to put the garlic in. I always miss one thing, darn it. That's okay, I'll just put it in now. So normally we'll saute the 1 tablespoon of chopped garlic toward the end of sauteing our veggies, since it can burn a little easier than those other things. About a 1/2 cup of pecans, walnuts, some other nut that you like, or leave the nuts out. You don't have to put them in if you don't want to, but a nice holiday loaf. I like it with a little bit of nuts in it. I'm going to put in my dried herbs and spices. I already have this chopped up. This is sage, rosemary, and thyme all together. And I don't know if you could see that. That's quite a lot. How many did I put in there? A tablespoon of sage, 2 teaspoons of thyme, 1.5 teaspoons rosemary. Because oats and rice and lentils are really flavor suckers. So we want to put lots of flavor in there. And then we're going to put in some tomato paste. 1 can of tomato paste. Oh, this smells so good. And this is going to go into the food processor there. but I like to put it into a bowl first to give it a little premix to kind of help the food processor out. Then things will get mixed more evenly. And when you buy your tomato paste, this is a 6-ounce can, just make sure you double check the label that it only has tomatoes and citric acid in it, which is a preservative. You don't want any oil or cheese or anything else weird, salt in there. Just get the regular tomato paste. And then we're going to just mix this. I probably should have used a slightly bigger bowl, so I'll just have to be a little bit careful here. Oh, see? Ah. Okay. And then all of this isn't going to be able to fit into the food processor at once, so we're going to do it in 2 stages. We're going to do half, we'll process that, then we'll put the other half in. And mainly what I'm doing is trying to get that tomato paste kind of evenly distributed. Now, if you're a person who doesn't like mushrooms, I know you're out there. I've never tried it, but what I most often say with mushroom objectors is just leave it out. I think it would still be fine. You could probably put a can of kidney beans in instead. There isn't really a great substitute for mushrooms. Maybe eggplant as far as the consistency, but a lot of people don't like eggplant. Okay, so there we have it kind of roughly mixed. I'll move this over a bit. Okay, and I've just got my blade in there. And I'm going to I'm going to get a different spoon. I'm going to put in about half of this. Just kind of put it around in a circle. I'm always trying to help my appliances. They probably don't need my help, but food processors are kind of notorious for not blending evenly. So that's why I like to help it, especially if there's a lot of volume in the food processor jar here. Bowl, I guess we call that a bowl.
Did you ever get an air fryer, Kathy?
I did.
What kind do you have?
I got the kind you have. Nice.
Because, you know, I don't hate mushrooms, but I really don't love them or seek them. But I find that if I air fry them, what I don't like about it is the sliminess, you know, and the texture. But when I air fry them, then I love them.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe you'll like them in this because it's all ground up together. You can't really.
When it's ground up, it's fine. But it's just to have mushrooms kind of there is like not my jam. But they're very good for you. Mushroom powder is a great way to get the flavor if you don't like the texture.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, I love my Breville. I bought it when you and Tammy did your bulk cooking class, and I just love it. Okay, so we're going to pulse this about 3 times. We're going to stop. We're going to scrape it down, and then we'll pulse it a little bit more. Things happen quickly in here. So we're just going to, again, help it a little. So all the stuff on the bottom doesn't get blended and the stuff on the top doesn't, you know. We'll give it a few more pulses. And if you don't have a food processor, I've never done it, but I think you could do it without it. It would just be a more chunky consistency. Maybe it wouldn't stick together when you take it out of the loaf pan quite as well, but I think it would still taste great. I think it would still work. People have told me that that works when they've made my veggie burgers, which also uses the food processor. All right, so it's easier if you take out the blade at this point. And just put this into a bowl because we need this food processor bowl freed up so we can do the other half. So put it back on there, put the S blade on, we'll put the other stuff on there. AJ, is Bailey there with you?
I'm gonna get her because she got groomed yesterday. We have a mobile groomer and she got a summer cut. Bailey, come here. Kathy wants to see you.
Summer
She
cut.
looks so cute. Bailey. She's here. Where is she? Go look for her. Hey, Charles, can you bring Bailey? People are asking for her for Easter. I have rabbit ears. I should have dressed her up. Because it's Kathy Fisher and she loves Bailey.
Here's Bailey.
Okay.
Oh, that has got to be the cutest dog ever made, or at least in the top 10 or
Oh,
top.
she is. Thank you. Look, she's got little bows. She'll be looking her bows.
I miss dogs.
It's Kathy when she came and stayed with us. Remember, we went to Mexico. That was before the pandemic.
Good times. All right. So this
Everything from now on is going to be BP and AP, you know, before the pandemic and after the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's sweet.
Well, I guess we can say we lived through it. We were there. Whatever exciting times. We will tell our non-grandchildren. Okay. All right, so we have everything ready to go in the bowl. Let's get our lined pan here. And look at that. It makes a lot. And you might be thinking, how's that all going to fit into this pan? But it does, because we're going to mash it down. So what I do is I just put it in the kind of toward the ends first to help with this parchment paper to lay flat against the sides. So just spoon it in, kind of smash it down as you go. This would be a great traveling food too. Make one or two of these loaves, cut them into slices, and just take them on the road with you. Or flying with you, so you won't be tempted by the fast food and the airplane food. Okay. And this is one that I like to make for people, even if they don't eat a plant-based diet, because it looks so much like a meatloaf. The texture is the same, and it just tastes so good. So people are often very surprised when I tell them, usually afterwards, that it's a meatless loaf. Because I think people, all they really care about is that it tastes good. So, all right, we're getting there. So I'm just smashing it into the corners. And it isn't even going to come to the top of the pan. That's amazing. All right. And we want to try to get the top nice and even.
When you have frozen this, Kathy, do you freeze it before baking or after baking, or have you tried both?
I think it would work better after baking, because sometimes when you, well, yeah, I think something like this would be better after, because when you thaw the dough, I don't know, it might have, the texture might have changed in a way that might not be the best. I should try that though. All right, so smash it nice and even. If you're not sure, tilt it, and then it's easier to see the uneven parts. Okay. So there we go. If you want to trim this stuff, I tried to eyeball it so I wouldn't have to trim it, but I didn't do a good job. A little bit hanging over the top is fine, because when you take it out of the oven, you can just lift it using these. When you take it out, let it sit in the pan for like 5 or 10 minutes, and then take it out and put it on a cooling rack.
Have you ever tried silicone? Because I just do mine in a loaf pan and it pops right out.
Good point. Yeah, you can use a silicone pan too. I haven't in a loaf pan. I have in cupcake, muffin pans.
Linda Middlesworth says, Kathy is the best. Yep.
Hey, Linda. So there it is. And then how am I doing on time? I did
You're
prep.
fine. I told you guys 15 minutes, but we're easy. We don't have another show till 2, so I don't like to rush people.
Okay, well, I'm nearly done. I just had the ketchup stuff ready in case I did have time. And here it is. This is optional. You don't have to use this with ketchup, but I like to put a little ketchup on top and then bake it with that. And I have a ketchup recipe that doesn't have any salt or sugar in it. And I've already started it here. And I like to use my little mini blender for this with the tall cup. So 1 can of, I don't know what the can is, tomato paste, six ounce can of tomato paste is in here, and 3/4 cups of water. And then I'm going to add to that a little bit, I think 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, just to give it that little tangy tang, and a little bit of green herbs or oregano there, and then a little bit of granulated garlic or powdered or whatever you have. Okay. And you know, ketchup doesn't have a real strong spicy taste, but you can make it that way if you want, but that's just a little bit for the background. All right, and then we're just going to blend it. Usually take it out at this point, give it a good shake, put it back in. Oh, I forgot the apples. They're sitting right there and I forgot them.
When I do loaves, I do barbecue sauce on top because I like things a little spicy.
That would be great too. I have a barbecue sauce recipe too. So here's my apples. This is what we're putting in instead of refined sugar. Can you see those apples, AJ? I cut those in the Vidalia chopper just because I wanted those cute little squares, even though it's going in the blender anyway. So this is just a half of an apple. You can leave the skin on or peel it off. I left mine on. And this just gives it some sweetness. You could probably also just use apple juice, but I never have apple juice in the house. Okay. So we're right up to the brim there. Okay. See, we're kind of full. This probably would have been better in the big Vitamix. Shake. Okay, so take a look at it, make sure it looks processed enough. Oh yeah, it looks good. And by the way, this is on page 152 of my cookbook, Straight Up Food, and then the loaf is on page 92. So both of these recipes are in my cookbook, which is on Amazon. It's on my website. All right, so now if you're going for the ketchup or the barbecue sauce option, just put it right on the top at this point. And then even it out. And we are going to cover this. Okay. So there it is with a little bit of ketchup on top. And this ketchup, it looks kind of orange right now, but as it sits now, since I just made it, it will deepen in color and become more red.
Question about what the mini blender is that you're using.
Oh yeah, it's called the TriBest Personal Blender. If you go to my Amazon store from my website, you can find it there. I love my TriBest blender. And it comes with different size cups, and it's just really great to have a big blender and a little blender.
Just like to have a big air fryer and a little air fryer.
There you go.
Instant pot and a little instant pot.
So then just cover this with aluminum foil. I won't do that right now to save time. If you don't want the aluminum foil basing your food, just put a piece of parchment over it and then put the aluminum foil around it and go ahead and kind of seal it, and then bake this at 350 for 40 minutes. And then, and the one I made last night, I did in my Breville. It worked great. And then take the top stuff off and then put it in for another 20 minutes just to kind of crustify that top stuff. So I'm going to set this aside and put it in the oven once we're done here. And then here is the finished loaf that I tried to make look pretty on this pretty plate with a little bit of lettuce underneath. And this does have the ketchup on it. It's kind of baked into the loaf a bit, which I like the look of. So let's go ahead and
It looks great. All it needs is a side of Ramses's potatoes and Katie's salad, and then we're good to go.
Ooh, that would be great. Okay.
I love loaves like that better even the next day after they've had even more time to set up, and then you kind of crisp it up a slice in an air fryer. It's so good.
I mean, you can eat it right out of the oven, obviously, but let it sit for like 10 or 15 minutes first. Otherwise, it's going to fall apart too easily. So just cut it into nice, chunky, hearty loaves. Here's another one here. You can serve it with more ketchup or barbecue sauce on the side if you want, but I don't know if you can see that. It's still pretty coarse texture there, which I like. I like it. I don't like it to be so, what's the word, homogeneous, that it's too fine. So this would be great with some ketchup on it, with some gravy, nothing. So good, and it's so flavorful, and it'll make your house smell good while it's baking. So there we go. We did it.
It looks amazing. Thank you so much, Kathy.
Thank you.
Angela says, tell Kathy to expect some dinner guests.
I wish I had some dinner guests. I saw my folks yesterday, so today's just me and the kitties. But like I said, I can freeze some of this. Maybe I'll share some with my enthusiastic neighbor. I have one neighbor who's always like, I'll take it. She loves my food. So thank you very much for having me, and happy Easter.
Who wouldn't love your food? What's great about your food is you don't have to be vegan or SOS-free to love your food.
No.
Because it's straight up food.
It's straight, well, there you go.
That's why you named. Well, thank you so much, Kathy, and happy Easter to you and your family. We have one chef left, because what would any Easter meal or any delicious SOS-free meal be without dessert? We have from Vegan News Daily, also known as the Speedy Vegan. She's going to be making a tart with chocolate, and her name is Elspeth Feldman. Welcome, Elspeth. Thank you so much for taking the dessert course.
Hi, Chef AJ. Thank you. Happy Easter. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, you the only thing I can, what's more beautiful, you or your food? I don't know. And thank you for improving my appearance. You guys, you're always saying you like my shirts. Well, Elspeth basically sent me an entire wardrobe, because all I was wearing was t-shirts, and I'm Chef AJ. Can't wear t-shirts every day. So thank you so much for your wonderful taste in clothing as well. And Elspeth also got me for my birthday last week a sprouting set. Now I'm just a sprouting fool.
Yeah, the sprouting's fun, isn't it? It's really, I mean, I'm a sprouting fool, and I can't stop either. It's like farming in your kitchen, so really fun and delicious, right?
When I think that I was paying $4 for like a handful of broccoli sprouts, and for that you can get like a bag to make infinite amounts of sprouts.
Yeah, I know. It's really a game changer growing your own. So great. I'm glad you're loving it, and I love your shirt. That yellow is just bright and poppy, perfect for Easter.
Yeah, that's right.
I was convinced you were going to wear pink.
Well, I figured Easter, kind of eggs yellow. I don't know, chicks yellow.
Yeah, I got flowers on, and everyone knows how much I love flowers, but I decided to wear flowers for Easter Sunday, so why not? Yeah, and I get to celebrate all the holidays. We do Passover in my house too. My husband's Jewish, and then we do Easter, and we do Hanukkah and Christmas. We do all the holidays, so this is really fun. Last weekend we had beautiful Seder and all the Passover trimmings, and today we're on to Easter bunnies and all things Easter, so kind of fun.
Well, all I can see on the left corner, there's something that looks very much like a bunny rabbit.
Oh yeah, this is you should meet this is Funny Bunny 2021. I always make Easter bunny out of fruit, so this is my little bunny that I whipped together this morning. If you go to my Instagram page, the Speedy Vegan Instagram, you'll see a little video clip of how it all comes together. This year I remember to turn the video camera on, so it shows you how just fruit, so kind of fun.
Cool.
And fruit. Yeah. So today I'm going to make dessert, and I'm going to make a chocolate raspberry tart, and this is definitely a little higher calorie than what a lot of your viewers like to eat, and I like to eat. So don't run away, because I do have a lower calorie option that I'll show you as well as we go along. So first up, I'm going to make the crust, and I'm going to use a food processor like everybody else with the S blade inserted, and I've got almonds here, so 2 cups of almonds, and I'm just going to start processing the almonds a little bit and get them crumbled up before I add the rest of the ingredients into this crust. So here goes. So I just want the almonds a little bit crumbly. I don't want to make almond butter. So they're crumbled a little bit. And then I'm going to add the rest of the ingredients right here. So I do have some just regular rolled oats, gluten-free rolled oats, and raw cacao powder. You can definitely use carob powder. It's sweeter. It doesn't have that caffeine hit, but raw cacao is a really great option too. And it has a lot of great antioxidant properties. And I have some medjool dates. These are nice and chewy and gummy. So if they were dried out, I would probably soak them in hot water a little bit before, but I'm going to pop them in there. And I'm also going to add, and I've taken all the pits out, so that's hard. And I've also got some almond milk here. I have a video on our YouTube page. YouTube is Vegan News Daily YouTube, and you can see exactly how I make almond milk. And I'm just going to blend this all together. But I figured, so this wasn't going to be like a noisy show, I'm going to do the filling at the same time and blend that up. So we'll have two things blending, and hopefully I don't, short circuit the electricity in my house. But here we go for the filling for the tart. I have some just regular Japanese sweet potatoes. So these are the sweet potatoes that are purple on the outside and they're white on the inside. And I just went ahead and roasted them. I think in the recipe that I sent you, I said you should peel the roast potatoes, but honestly, unpeeled is just fine too. There's a whole lot of extra, goodness in the potato skins. And again, I have some dates. I could leave the dates out and just put like frozen banana or something like that in for sweetness. And raspberries. Just grab my frozen raspberries here. So I'm just going to throw a 10-ounce bag of frozen raspberries in and get this all blended together. Okay, so here's the real test to see if the power stays on. Whoa, a lot of noise. So I have the filling all blended up here. I'm just going to check on the crust, because what I want the crust to do is to be sort of sticky and come into like a dough ball. So this looks pretty good. I could blend it a little bit longer, but I'm going to stop right there and pull over my tart pan. So I like to use a rectangular pan for this recipe. It's just a fluted tart pan. It has a removable bottom. And I'm going to use some gloves. I don't usually use gloves, but I figured it's going to be a little bit sticky on my hands, and I want to be able to just move right along without going off to wash my hands. So here we go. So I'll just take out a bunch of this lovely dough and pop it into my tart pan here. And then I'm just going to press it into the pan. And if you did not want to use nuts at all, you could simply use the rolled oats. Or you could probably use figs or some mulberries, dried mulberries, but rolled oats and almonds are just more readily available. So that's what I'm going to use. And I just press this into the edge And this is not going to be cooked or anything like that at all. It's just going to be in the refrigerator, and no heating up of your kitchen. What is that expression that you like to say, Chef AJ?
I like to call it eating without heating. And at 2:00, we have a well-known raw food chef coming on doing an entire Easter meal raw. He's doing cheesy scalloped potatoes and all kinds of things. But especially when you live in the desert, you don't want to turn your oven on.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, I've started eating raw this week again. I just love raw food, and it's as the weather gets warmer. I figured I'd go on a little raw kick here. Also trying desperately to find a cure for my horrible eczema. So I figured I'd just try the raw kick, and I've done raw before, but I've often tried to do it in the middle of winter. So this is nice doing it as the weather is warmer. It's a beautiful day. I'm in Maryland on the East Coast. It's a beautiful spring day here. And I have a puppy dog who's dying to get outside and enjoy a walk in the sunshine. So this is the crust. I try and get all the little bits in there just so that my platter, that should be good enough. But you can take your time and really press it in and get a nice crust in your pan. And then I'm going to check on my filling here. Let me just move my blender out the way. My food processor out the way. And let's see how this is. So with this raspberry mixture, you can make it as sweet as you want. I, don't eat sugar, so I find that this is plenty sweet for me. If you're giving it to people who are used to eating very sweet foods, you might want to add a few more dates, but I could almost just have this without dates at all and a banana. So I'm just going to pour this mixture into the tart crust and spread it around. Chocolate and raspberry is such a lovely combination. And you could also make the recipe with without a chocolate crust at all. On my website, thespeedyvegan.com, I have a recipe for this, pretty much the same recipe, but with a vanilla crust. So you could do that too. So just spread this along. And this recipe is really all about the garnish. And I was inspired by this years ago. I was in Paris and saw a beautiful tart in a French bakery that was rectangular like this. And I was inspired to make something. So get that out of the way. I'm going to just scoop up my mess here. So for those of you who eat a much lower fat diet and don't want all those nuts and don't want all this crust, you can just take this mixture, which is just going to be raspberries and dates, or you could do raspberries and frozen banana, and that would be the mixture that you would have for the filling. But instead of putting it into this nutty pie crust or tart crust, you could simply spoon it into glasses like this and top it with raspberries, and then put some shavings of chocolate over the top, just vegan dark chocolate if you wanted, or just sprinkle it with mint leaves, whatever you wanted to do. But that's a low fat, low calorie option. And I call this raspberry fool. So if you go to my website, again, thespeedyvegan.com, you'll see a recipe for raspberry fool. My mother used to make fool is, I think it's more like a British kind of term for a dessert. There's flummeries and there's fools. So this is a raspberry fool. Do you know the term fool for dessert, Chef AJ?
Usually, yes, I've actually heard that. There's so many different ways for fruit dessert, like they'll call it like a cobbler or a blueberry buckle, or, I never know the difference between those fruity dessert words.
I know. Sometimes I feel like I have to look up the technical term, like, can I really call it this? But you know what? There's no rules. So I'm going to
brown Betty. I've heard of like a brown Betty, an apple brown Betty, and then,
Yeah, that's definitely an American one. I'm not sure what makes a brown Betty a brown Betty. I'm going to just pop this tart now out of the pan and just put it on my platter. And I'm going to start to decorate this. So we'll see if we can bring the camera a little bit closer as I do this. So I just start in one corner, and I have a big bowl of fresh raspberries here, and I'll just keep choosing a few, and I'll try and do a little corner of the tart. So just simply dotting little raspberries all along here. And I mean, you know, make it however you like, but this is how I like to make it, and I think it's really pretty. And so I'll do 2 corners like this. So that will be my one corner. And I'll also show you a fun way to cut this as well. This is why I like the rectangular tart pan. All right, so I've got the, whoops, I need to go down at more of an angle. You can play with this for hours, actually. And then I go along the other corner over here, and I'll do the same thing. The raspberries are so delicious. Actually, all the fruit this time of year is getting so good, especially mangoes and things. I was tempted to do something with mangoes because we're getting a lot of great mangoes, but berries seemed more appropriate for Easter, more spring-like. Okay. Okay, so I've got my 2 little corners done with the raspberries, and then I can add some cacao nibs. So these are just, you know, regular little cacao nibs, and I like to sprinkle those sort of along the edge of the raspberries on each end. And, you know, again, there are no rules. You can use some slivered almonds, because almonds are also in the crust. So I like to use whatever's in the ingredients in the recipe for the garnish. But that's that. And then I have some mint leaves. I could put some mint leaves around, or sometimes I just put mint leaves on the edge of the platter and just dot those around. And then a few little extra raspberries dotted around as well, along the edges, because it looks pretty. And I have some, you know, some pansies that are edible flowers. So because it's Easter, it's really fun to have some pretty little flowers. So I'll just snip off a few little flowers and maybe pop those on each end here. And
you just have a knack for making things beautiful, whether it's dressing people or desserts.
Oh, thank you. I like playing with my food. So, and then I'll maybe put another little mint leaf on each end. And that is pretty much it. I'll probably clean up my plate a little bit more. But anyway, and then there you have it, a beautiful raspberry tart. And then for the lower calorie option, you have raspberry fool.
That is just spectacular.
And that's it. And then with this fun little tart, you can, you know, without the flowers on, you can wrap it up in saran wrap and put it in the freezer, which I promised to do for my son-in-law, who I hope to see in a couple of weeks. So this is Brian's tart. So we won't be messing with this one, but it does freeze well, so you can make it in advance. I would almost, you know, wait to put the fresh raspberries on right before you're going to eat it, but they'll also freeze just well as well.
I'm sure you're going to put pictures on Instagram of that, right?
Yeah, I will. I think I have some pictures up there already, but I'll show you some more photographs and how, you know, it's a technique of how I cut it. What I do is I cut it at a diagonal, and then I sort of, so you end up with slices rather, or you could also just cut it in, you know, little squares and stuff, but it's really pretty. But yeah, this will be on my Instagram, speedyvegan.com, Speedy Vegan on Instagram. And yeah, it's a really fun recipe.
Yeah. Well, Karen says, beautiful shirt. Is it tacky to ask where she got it?
Oh, this is from Boston Proper. I get a lot of clothes from Boston Proper. And yeah, this is just a fun one with flowers. I don't usually wear flowers, but I think I like it.
We're getting so many people to shop at Venus and Boston Proper. They should give us something, you know?
Yeah, no, I think so, right? I mean, you know, all the Venus and Boston Proper clothes we wear.
Yeah. But, is Prince around?
Prince is, yeah, he came wandering by when I had the sweet potatoes. Prince, you gonna come say Happy Easter? Princey, he'll come. He loves carrots. In fact, here, Prince, you wanna come over? Come on, come say hi. Hi, you wanna say happy? Prince, come here. Can you see him? Prince, come here. Hi, you want a carrot? You want a carrot? Chef AJ wants to say hi. Oh, he didn't like that. He loves sweet potato. He's just, he's a really good guy. We had, yeah, here we go. I have a treat for him. Say hi. Want everything? Come on. No.
He's
He's,
camera shy.
Yeah, he's camera shy. He's adorable. We actually had a really lovely family day yesterday. We met up with my son and his girlfriend in Shepherdstown, West Virginia. I've never been to West Virginia, but it's about 2 hours away. And we went to Shepherdstown, West Virginia. And so we had a picture of our shepherd in Shepherdstown. And there's Shepherdstown University, and he was standing in front of the Shepherdstown sign. So he's a great guy. And it was really fun to be out and about in the beautiful weather.
Well, that's hilarious. And thank you so much for rescuing a pet.
Yeah, I tell you, he rescued us. I mean, it was just incredible how it all happened, and we're so lucky to have him.
And thank you so much for creating not only delicious SOS-free vegan recipes, but ones that are just so beautiful.
Oh, thank you, Chef AJ. Thank you so much for having me on here, and happy Easter, everybody. And I hope you have a wonderful day with your family. And I'm looking forward to diving into my funny bunny.
Do you have any classes coming up? I know you teach these wonderful classes that are just, I've taken one of them. They're so great, sometimes with your daughter, sometimes not.
Yeah, we'll be having some more classes. I'm working on some stuff right now. Stay tuned. Right now, I'm putting up a lot of videos up on our YouTube channel, which is Vegan News Daily YouTube channel. So it'd be great if everyone went and subscribed to that. I'm always putting up recipes there. They're free of sugar, oil, and salt. I do have classes that I've done previously that are still available for sale at vegannewsdaily.com/store. But we will be having classes coming on soon, and we're also going to be having a sort of a flash sale coming up for our previous classes, which will be great for Mother's Day gifts. So yeah, all sorts of lots of fun, exciting things coming up. So
yeah, great. We guys do the beautiful lady a favor, subscribe to her YouTube channel. That really helps her, and she shows you so many great recipes. So please do it. Just takes a moment to click.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. Have a lovely afternoon, and say hey to Bailey.
Yeah, well, here, okay, Bailey, say goodbye. Thanks again. And Bailey wants to wish everybody a happy Easter, and come back in 90 minutes because we have another show, an all raw vegan Thanksgiving. Boy, am I thinking ahead. Vegan Easter. Chef Chris Kendall's going to make cheesy scalloped potatoes, all raw, all low fat. You got to check it out. So go have lunch if you're in the West Coast, and see you guys in 90 minutes. Thanks again, Elspeth. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chef AJ.